Chelsea managed to actually have 10 wins in their opening 19 games, just lost 3 games in that period, with even other pundits tipping Chelsea to take on Liverpool towards the end. But Chelsea so far have just won 6 games. They have lost 4 games and they have drawn 3 games. The results don't look quite great for Chelsea at the moment, as Chelsea and Enzo Maresca are finding themselves in a difficult situation. Now, Enzo Maresca is finding himself in a difficult situation with a lot of fans and myself coming up to the conclusion that asking ourselves, why is Maresca's tactics no longer working at Chelsea? And Maresca is not the first manager to find himself here. Maurizio Sarri, a manager who also looked quite promising at Chelsea initially, found his team struggling, especially towards the later stages of the season. And why so? What really happened? Now, Maresca and Sarri have many things in common: possession, slow build up, final third movements, and control. And most importantly, both of them are Italians. Both of these managers are dogmatic managers who are heavily motivated and inspired with possession based football. Sarri's time at Chelsea started very well, getting good wins against Huddersfield, Arsenal, even getting a win against Manchester City, one of Pep's best teams that won the league with 98 points by beating them 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. But Sarri complemented also having a good player in Eden Hazard, who had his best season under him, and showcasing similar qualities to Maresca, who also has one of the best players in English football at the moment, called Palmer. Though the latter is actually finding himself where even Cole Palmer, once the bright shining spark at Chelsea, finds himself in a tactical system that does not give him the space or the opportunity to thrive. Maresca, a manager who comes from the Pep Guardiola school of positional play football, is finding it difficult to implement the systems he learned under Pep at Manchester City at Chelsea. And Maresca, who came to Chelsea to try and correct something that ailed the Maurizio Pochettino system at Chelsea. Now, Pochettino at Chelsea had a team that was very fluid, a team that could score a lot of goals, though Chelsea lacked control in games. Towards the latter stages of the season, actually Mauricio Pochettino rectified this and saw Chelsea actually win their last 6 games. Before we even start our analysis, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Now, Maresca, who came in to try and install positional play and most importantly, control through domination of possession, and the first initial phase of dominating possession is, and Chelsea have been one of the teams that press aggressively high. For Maresca to dominate possession, he must win the ball whenever he loses it. And this involves a high pressing. And this pressing has also come with its pros and cons. Chelsea's PPDA has increased, but one thing that we've also noticed is that Chelsea have heavily relied upon an aggressive, man-oriented high press, where the defense line pushes aggressively high. And sometimes Chelsea have found themselves in trouble. In the game against Manchester City, Chelsea looked to press aggressively high. And Manchester City did not hesitate to destroy Chelsea with this tactic, as Manchester City exploited this Chelsea weakness, something that also Real Madrid exploited against Chelsea when Chelsea were in pre-season. The aggressive press, if it is not complemented with an aggressive press from the players up front, puts Chelsea in a position where the opposition is able to play balls in behind. And if Chelsea's backline does not adjust, then they are found in deep trouble. Sometimes this is actually evident when Chelsea are playing with a lethargic presser like Christopher Nkunku. But one thing that has made Chelsea fans lose their minds about Enzo Maresca, something that also made Leicester fans feel very bad against Maresca, was the build-up play. The build-up play with the heavy emphasis on keeping the ball. Now, Chelsea have struggled, have been good in this phase, though they've had problems, especially with Robert Sanchez. But Chelsea, in the initial phases of the season, were looking to play from the back. Yes, they made errors even through this system, but they were looking to play from the back. And one way they were looking to do this initially was inverting one fullback and moving into a back four with the goalkeeper playing as a centre back and one centre back pushing into the right back position, most preferably Wesley Fofana. And whenever the opponents were looking to go man to man or zonal oriented press against Chelsea's backline, what we noticed is that Chelsea found themselves in a position where they had a little front line, especially one which is being led by Jackson, and a box midfield. And this box midfield was something that opponents could not know how to stop against Chelsea, because Chelsea were looking to build with this box in the deeper areas. You can see the position that Sanchez and Colwill have picked up, the position that Lavia and Caicedo are picking up. Now look at those two box midfield, the two midfielders at the base and the two attacking midfielders in between the lines. A simple pass, and Chelsea now are 5v4. Here again, Chelsea are building from the back in a 3-2-2 structure. Here, Caicedo has received the ball. Caicedo plays the ball to Fernandes. And this constant box midfield shape that Chelsea had created a lot of problems for teams earlier on, allows you to open up. And this box midfield was actually the weapon that Chelsea had. And since a lot of opponents had not respected Chelsea when it came to how Chelsea were looking to build up from the back, this was actually something that made Chelsea to put a lot of teams to sword, until teams realized that pressing Chelsea was making them penetrable, because Chelsea could even play a simple pass to forwards like Palmer in between the lines and Fernandes, who would now look to turn and play in players like Jackson and Noni Madueke. And because of this and the way Chelsea always found themselves in regions where they could pick their fullbacks, their midfielders, and always have these overloads across the pitch, both in the wide areas and in the middle parts of the pitch, opponents had to adapt. And even when opponents decided that they are going to press Chelsea in a man-oriented fashion, pushing a lot of players forward, Chelsea, using Robert Sanchez and their centre-backs, will just go long to Nicholas Jackson, who was an able target man, able to hold up the ball, win the ball, and play the ball back to players like Fernandes and Palm. So teams realized that it was pointless to press Chelsea aggressively high, but rather just sit off them and watch. And this is what teams have been doing against Chelsea, and that's why Maresca's tactics are no longer working. You can see here in the Brentford game, Brentford are sitting in a 4-4. Why in a 4-4? I always explain to you in my videos that the 4-4 is the best system to nullify the box midfield. You have the two forwards sitting on the two base players in midfield, and you have the wingers covering the wide centre backs and the two double pivots covering the players in between the lines. And because when teams sit like this, you heavily rely upon your wingers to be the ones to take on the opposition's fullbacks, since they are the ones with the 1v1 situation. Now, at Manchester City, where Guardiola implemented this tactic, he's always had wingers who are able to do this. Prime Sterling, Prime Leroy Sané, Riyad Mahrez, Jack Grealish, and players of that ilk. At Chelsea, Maresca has heavily relied upon players like Neto, Sancho, who have not yet reached that point. Chelsea without the ball moved into something more of a 4-4-2 structure, looking to limit the penetration through the middle. However, I have to give compliments to Maresca, especially how he has improved Chelsea defensively, because when you compare the number of goals that Chelsea conceded last season and the number of goals they conceded this season, then it's more likely that Chelsea's defense has really improved. The 4-4-2 structure, I can say it's really working, though Chelsea are susceptible to crosses, especially in the far post area, but it's been rare for me to see something like that at Chelsea. Maurizio Sarri was a dogmatic of the 4-5-1, but the problem is the spaces in between the lines was so huge. And this 4-5-1 heavily relied upon a sole presser pressing, with the midfield looking to move narrow and the wingers dropping in midfield. Now, the reason why I'm comparing Maresca with Sarri is that both of them are quite similar when it comes to their style of play they want to implement. However, Maurizio Sarri faced something that Maresca is facing now. His tactics got exposed. Opponents decided to sit deep on him, and Stamford Bridge decided to become a very hostile and toxic ground for Sarri, especially checking how he wanted to implement his style of play. Sarri, though, managed to have a stellar end at Chelsea, winning the Europa League, finishing third in the league with 71 points, one of Chelsea's best high finishes, especially in recent times where Chelsea have not been hitting the 70-point mark in the league. Mauricio Sarri got that. Maresca now is facing the same situation: slow possession based football, a system that he learned under Pep. But does he have the players to play this system? Does he have the wingers? Does he have the attackers to give him this? Maresca has an opportunity to try and go and seal the victory for Chelsea, especially in the Conference League, because the Conference League is such an important league for Chelsea players and for the Chelsea fan base. Finishing top four, winning the Conference League, and mounting a charge for the Club World Cup will be something that can give Maresca and the Chelsea fan base hope for the next season. Otherwise, if that does not happen, then expect more toxic fan base. And Maresca needs to come up with a ways to tweak his tactics because it looks like he has been found by other Premier League teams. Do you agree with my analysis? Leave your comments in the comment section area below, and thanks for watching.